Kawai no Katachi, also known as the Silent Voice, is a story about a young man's path to redemption as he battles the repercussions of his adolescent mistakes. I was never really susceptible to being bullied, nor do I have a disability, yet the story's narrative and well-developed main cast allowed for me to feel for and relate to each of the characters in my own way. Due to time constraints and the resulting plot changes, the movie was unable to fully explore much of the cast to the extent that the manga did. In regards to the plot changes, no character was affected more than Mashiba Satoshi, as he had a vast majority of his character arc stripped from the movie entirely. I watched the Kawai no Katachi movie before I ever knew anything in regards to the manga, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but Mashiba Satoshi felt far more extraneous than any other aspect of the film. This is because the plot of the manga centered around the main cast filming their own movie, which not only helped to introduce Mashiba, but played a significant role in a majority of the scenes he was involved in. Thus, when the movie-making part of the plot was scratched, so was most of Mashiba's character arc. Mashiba arguably had the least significant role of the main group's supporting cast, but I still find it to be a shame that the movie never fleshed his character out in its entirety. He considers himself to be a bit abnormal, but he seems like your typical nice guy a vast majority of the time, and his laid-back and easygoing demeanor helped to make just about anybody comfortable around him. He handles most situations with a calm observance, and is often content with simply watching those around him from a distance. On account of this, he considers himself to be an outsider. This was an important aspect to his character, and was a subtle change with great significance in the adaptation. In the manga, Mashiba calls himself an outsider on the bridge, signifying his inner struggle to try to fit in despite the fact that Ishida had already viewed him as a friend prior. Yet in the movie, Ishida is the one that calls him an outsider and tells him not to be in touch, which implies that Mashiba simply wanted to be Ishida's friend and yet was pushed away. The part where Mashiba punches Ishida also bears a lot of weight, yet was removed from this scene in the movie entirely, but we'll get to that later. Mashiba usually acts in ways that are considerate in regards to the feelings of those around him, and while I believe this is partially due to his genuinely kind-hearted nature, there's an unmistakable self-centered aspect to him that causes him to be dangerously impulsive at times, and it's from these instances that we learn the most about his character. Pet peeves are a funny thing, as they can often be used to help analyze who someone is as a person, or at least what values they hold in high regard. You can arguably learn more about a person from what annoys them than from what they enjoy. Yet while general annoyances can be pretty universal, pet peeves are often more personal. Pet peeves tend to be connected to someone's past or personal values, perhaps even both when we consider that a person's values are often molded from their past experiences. As someone who was bullied as a young child, Mashiba detests the act of bullying even more so than the average person would. He understands the pain of those being bullied by relating to his own personal experiences, and cannot even begin to fathom the type of person who would cause that pain. In his mind, the world is black and white. There are good people who are victimized, and there are bad people who bully the victims. His own experiences have shown him how cruel people can be, yet he lacks any prior experience that would indicate the people he considers to be bad have the potential to turn over a new leaf. Because of all this, Mashiba tends to react impulsively to any situation that involves someone being bullied. Without prejudice, he refuses to tolerate bullies of any kind, and thus is shown being aggressive against young schoolgirls and teachers alike. His narrow-minded perception of the world around him holds true, until he learns the truth about a boy named Ishida. While being bullied as a child caused Mashiba to develop a short temper with no tolerance for bullying whatsoever, it also shaped his personality in an arguably more impactful way. It caused him to become overwhelmed with dark feelings and self-doubt that may never truly go away. One could almost say that Mashiba is obsessed with trying to quell the dark feelings of insecurity from his past, and this is what initially leads him to approach Ishida. Ishida was a bit of a loner that kept to himself throughout most of high school, and seemed as if he was an extremely introverted person. So after the picture of him jumping off the bridge came out, and the resulting suspension was finished, Mashiba thought that maybe Ishida was even stranger than he was, and thus used the movie as a means of getting close to him. When he first approached Ishida, he automatically attempted to become friends with him. He later admired the fact that he knew sign language, and I think he ultimately judged Ishida to be a good guy. Yet as word of Ishida's past came to light, and Ishida insulted most of the group on the bridge, Ishida tells Mashiba he can hit him since he'd earlier stated that he would beat up anybody that was mean to Nishimiya in the past. Mashiba takes him up on his offer, and it's at this point that it becomes apparent that Mashiba doesn't hit Ishida for Nishimiya's sake, but for his own. Upon learning that Ishida was a bully, I think he felt a bit betrayed as Ishida became a bad guy in his eyes. After learning that Ishida nearly lost his life while saving Nishimiya, he underwent quite a bit of self-reflection as he not only acknowledged how self-centered he is, but opens up to the idea of redemption and shades of grey in others. Because of this, he is actually the first person to apologize and reconcile with Ishida, shown by when he got the X off of his face after Ishida woke up. While we're discussing Mashiba's relationships, I feel that we also need to bring up Kawai. Kawai is always following around Mashiba, making it obvious to everyone but him that she has a thing for him. Once Ishida points this out to Mashiba, he casually acknowledges that he thinks she's cute and stuff. I think it's pretty universal that Kawai is the most hated character in the series, as she not only takes part in bullying others, but she also avoids taking responsibility for her actions, and often plays the victim. Despite this, Mashiba actually takes a liking to her by the end of the series. Now, while he was never there, Mashiba seems to get a firm grasp on everyone else's elementary school days during a conversation with Kawai, and in that conversation she herself unknowingly and ironically states that someone who acts like her is just as responsible as other bullies. I'm gonna be honest, I still don't understand why someone who hates the act of bullying to the extent that Mashiba does falls for a girl who not only bullied others, but is about as stagnant as one can possibly be when it comes to self-improvement. Perhaps it's because Kawai victimizes herself, and Mashiba tends to sympathize and try to protect those that he believes are victims. Or perhaps when he realizes that Ishida found a path to redemption, that maybe there's hope for Kawai too, as he acknowledges that he thinks she's a kind person at heart. Or maybe he just likes a hot blonde and realizes there aren't many to choose from in Japan. Regardless of the reasoning, Mashiba and Kawai's relationship helped show me that while Mashiba may seem like a straightforward guy, he's a multi-layered character that I still have trouble wrapping my head around at times. Mashiba was bullied as a child, and thus is not only intolerant to bullying of any kind, but constantly struggles to quell his dark feelings of insecurity. As a result, he tries his utmost to make himself feel more normal, which is what resulted in him approaching Ishida for the first time. I think he's a genuinely good guy that tends to put others first, though this aspect of him is always partially driven by his own self-satisfying gratification. His intolerance towards bullying, along with his short temper, cause him to be rather impulsive and even violent at times. Overall, he's a strong, multi-layered character that is almost overly aware of his faults, and manages to expand his worldview throughout the series as a result. I personally love when characters develop like this, and while I'm sure that there are probably some aspects to Mashiba's character that I didn't fully understand or possibly even misunderstood, I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts on him down in the comment section below.